I hate all earthly harmony. Hark, hark, ye nymphs and satyrs all around. Hark, how the baffled echo faints. See how she dies. Look how the winged choir all gasping lies at the melodious sounds. See while she sings. How they droop and hang their wings. Angelic Delia, sing no more. Thy song's too great for mortal ear. Thy charming notes we can no longer bear. Hear the conceit of the sky untuned and outdone by the transcendent sweetness of the subject's musicianship had become, by the time of the Restoration, a purely literary commonplace. We're reading poetry from the Untuning of the Sky, the ideas of music and English poetry. Here we have Thomas Flatman's Celadon on Delia's singing from his Poems and Songs of 1674. The poet hears singing and become convinced that it is Delia's voice he hears. Quote, for nothing less could move my tuneless heart than something from above, he concludes. This heaven of angels and pagan spirits all mingled, higgledy, piggledy, piggledy is outdone in typical fashion by Delia's voice, yet in the notion that her song is too great for mortal ear, we may detect a relic of the old doctrine of the music of the spheres that we observed earlier in this chapter being by Samuel Butler. They have the audacity to mock the music of the spheres. At the very end of the poem, Flatman carefully removes the necessity for any willing suspension of disbelief on the part of either reader or Delia by carefully framing the whole poem in a pastoral monologue. His passion thus poor Celadon betrayed when first he saw, when first he heard the lovely maid. But even though framed in a quasi-dramatic fashion, there can be no possible debate about the non-doctrinal character of the musica speculativa in these epigrams. It is not that a dramatic or truly disengaged use of such notions as the heavenly music is drawing deliberately upon the doctrines of musical speculation. In any of these cases, we must distinguish uses of this engagement of the element of belief from those instances in dramatic literature that resemble more closely epigrammatic tradition, perhaps by comparing sets of examples, like Olivia's lines to Viola in Twelfth Night, 3, 6, 3, 1, 7, 11. Oh, by your leave, I pray you, I bade you never speak again of him. But would you undertake another suite, I would rather hear you to solicit that than music from the spheres. That's Shakespeare. And the conclusion to the attendant spirit final epilogue in Milton's Comus. This is now Milton. Mortals that would follow me, love virtue, she alone is free. She can teach you how to climb higher than the sphery chime, or if virtue feeble were, heaven itself would stoop to her. Now we have both Shakespeare and Milton. In this case, Olivia's mere hyperbole is reinforced by the fact that she is entreating the disgusted Viola to sing rather than another song than the Duke's, a song that would, it is implied, transport her to a higher heaven than any conventional hyperion. But hyperbole nevertheless remains, albeit a hyperbole that is more expressive than merely rhetorical, given the almost operatic tone of the scene in which it occurs. But the lines from Camus demanded of a 17th century audience and reader much more of a commitment to the understanding of how such lore was to be interpreted in the light of practical knowledge than those from Twelfth Night. There are the donies both of the convention of the mosque and its supernaturalism and of Christian humanist doctrine to support such illusions, and musica speculativa throughout the mosque has already been sufficiently allegorized so that the attendant spirit's closing lines need not suddenly emerge into the harsh light of either displaced literalism or unseemly flippancy. They describe a more real fictive apotheosis than do any examples of the trivialized figure. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Representative of the rather rudimentary dramatic framing that, like the examples from Flatman and Shakespeare, demand in no way any hierarchy of senses in which the illusion is to be taken, is a lovely dialogue by Lovelace from Lucasta, Post-Human Poems, 1659 to 60. Dialogues for two voices, with perhaps a choir, are extremely common in both manuscript and printed songbooks of the Caroline period. Their popularity may in some measure stem from the influence of the mosque. In Lovelace's lute and voice, the two parts indulge in mutual admiration, with an exception of the fact that the images and references concerning the stringed instrument and the vocal one are carefully distributed between the parts. The whole dialogue falls squarely into the tradition of the musical epigram, poem, or song, or lute and voice. Lute, sing, Gloria, sing, while all silent are the spheres, and all the eyes of heaven are turned to ears. There you have spheres rhyming with ears. Sing, Laura, sing, while silence are the spheres, and all the eyes of heaven are turned to ears. Touch thy dead wood, and make each living tree unchain its feet, take arms, and follow thee. Chorus, lute, sing, thee, touch, oh touch. Lute, oh sing both, it's the soul offering. Voice, touch the divinity of the chords, and make each heart string tremble and each sinew shake. Lute, while with your voice you rarefy the air, none but an host of angels hover here. Voice, sing, touch, voice, touch thy soft lute in each gentle thread, the leon and the panther captive led. Sing in heaven's enthroned deposed love, while angels dance and friends in order move. What sacred charm may this then be in harmony, that thus can make the angels wild, the devils mild, and teach low hell to heaven to swell, and the high heaven to stoop to hell. Lovelace Poems. The abashed spheres, the wooden instrument, giving life to the forest from which it was made. The lowering of heaven, the ordering of malignant, chaotic spirits, are all conventional in the extreme. Lovelace's personal, almost virtuosic eloquence shows up all only in the way in which he weaves the commonplaces into the scheme of his wits of antithesis. The image in the second line seems to work more effectively than does Strode's. Quote, every sense make haste to be all ears. Every sense make haste to be all ears. Because the opposition of eyes and ears is immediately paralleled by one of arms and feet in the following lines. There is also considerable invention in the couplet about the animals where the strings become leashes. And the preceding line where treble and shake refer to the names of ornaments in treble and shake and lute playing in the 17th century, as well as to physiological phenomenon, but in any event, despite the form of the musical dialogue towards which the specific groupings and antitheses contribute, the essential strain of the complementary poem is clearly recognizable. We had read about the sky untuned. We had read about a poem by Lovelace. We read Shakespeare Milton, and we read Thomas Flatman. We read a poem by Flatman, all about the old doctrine of the music of the spheres. On page 366. We're reading from poetry about the music of the spheres in Untuning of the Sky by John Hollander.